Hello and welcome to Shedcast, news and discussion from across the tabletop. Hi, I'm Pete, and this is one of our Fantasy Flight GenCon specials. Now, like many people who couldn't go to GenCon, we've been watching with bated breath as releases and announcements have been made by varying companies. And although there are lots of games that have been released, demoed and tried out at GenCon this year, Fantasy Flight Games seems to have done a bit of a bonanza, released several games, announced them and shown them off all at the same time. It's a real shame I didn't get to go, never been to Gen Con, but I'm trying to set my sights on next year of going. I think that'd be really cool. I think there'll be loads of stuff to look into, loads of stuff to bring you guys. But as it stands, what I've done is I've scoured the Fantasy Flight Games website to bring you some of the interesting things that are on there, some of the new games that they're releasing or re-releasing with new additions, and I wanted to take you through some of those. So what we're going to do is, this part of the video is probably repeated in both episodes, but now we're going to go on to part 1, where we talk about Star Wars Destiny, New Angeles and Doom the board game. Right, so let's get cracking. So Fantasy Flight Games have got the IP for Star Wars board games, and this has obviously done an amazing thing for them. They've got X-Wing, Armada, Rebellion, the Living Card Game, and now they have announced Star Wars Destiny. Now, Star Wars Destiny is a collectible card and dice game, which looks kind of strange, adds another dimension to the typical card game. It's battles between the light and dark side, as you'd guess, from it being Star Wars, but it will cover all films, so you can see on there that you can get BB-8, Kylo Ren, but also when you look into some of the extra images that we have, we can see that there's Count Dooku, Luke Skywalker. So it looks like you can enjoy the whole breadth of the canon, which is cool. Get to try out lots of different things. But what's really different about this is that it's a combination of cards and dice. Now, the dice that you get are specific to characters or bits of equipment, and they have some really nice artwork on them that comes from the cards, so you know which ones associate. And each character has a different set of dice that you can use. So the starter pack has literally got the basics with some heroes, some villains, some locations, some additional cards, your dice and counters, pretty much what we can see on the screen here with a few more cards. And then there will be random booster packs in the future, which will add extra characters, extra dice, extra equipment and new locations. So they've got a whole, obviously it's Star Wars, so they've got a whole breadth of stuff to kind of plumb, and I'm sure they will make the most of it. Now, this has been described by Fantasy Flight Games as quick and easy to learn, which I think we can see is kind of a tactic they're using with a lot of their games at the moment. Get some simple games out there that are kind of gateway into some of their more serious games. So you might pick this up because it's got cool looking dice, cool looking cards, and then you might get interested in the other Star Wars games that FFG have available. But here we can see some nice cards and dice, and you can see that the artwork from the cards is on the relevant dice for the character. So you've got Han Solo, you've got Rey, you've got Count Dooku. As you can see, you've got all characters from all different films. So it looks like it's going to have a lot of variety, a lot of action. Each dice will have different symbols. I don't know quite what the symbols mean yet, but yet to see how it plays or how it works. But it looks quite interesting. Looks like a fun, fast, quick game that you can play, a couple of people having a laugh. Not as in-depth as something as, say, Rebellion, which you really have to know the rules inside out, plan your strategy, think ahead. This looks like it'll be as much fun, but in a different way. Cool. Before I move on, I should just say that if at any time you want to subscribe to the channel, you can just press this button here on screen, and that'll take you to the channel page, and then you can subscribe. The more people that subscribe, the more videos we can do, which will be excellent. We just hit 100 subscribers, which is still a small number, but it's nice to get into 3 figures. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed so far. If you haven't, please join us and keep abreast of all the cool videos that we will be creating. Okay, so that's Star Wars Destiny, which I think you'll agree looks like fun, fast play. Let's move on to our next game here. So that is New Angeles. So this is a new board game set in the Android universe. Netrunner card game is set in the same universe. They've got a couple of other games. In this, though, you take on the role of a corporation. So there's no netrunners, and the goal is good old-fashioned greed. You have to try and get as much money as you can. Use your money to create more money. I think we've got to look at some of the elements here. So you've got a board. You are playing in New Angeles, the biggest megalopolis in the world, in America, and you are a corporation, and your rounds consist of laying out business deals that you're trying to propose, fighting over certain assets. There are counter proposals from other players. It's kind of cutting deals, striking bargains, and forging alliances. It looks like it might be a little bit more complicated than something like Star Wars Destiny. And you can see here there's a lot of cards going on. There's locations on the board. Here we can see one of the locations in close-up. There's some nice miniatures that you can use to move around, represent your different factions and enforcers. And there's lots of different cards. It's got this great artwork that runs through all of FFG products, but the Android universe is exemplified through the artwork. It really gets you into the game. And with all of these things, the text, the way the game plays is very thematic. So this whole cut and thrust of deals, backwards and forwards with negotiations, is very much the corporate world that is trying to be shown off in the Android universe. So this looks very interesting. It looks like it could be quite complex, not for your beginner, but for someone who's got several board games under their belt and is looking for something that requires a bit of to and fro between you and your friends. Hopefully something that won't cause you not to be friends by the end of the night, but you never know, it could be a lot of fun. So I think this looks really interesting. I think I'm going to have a go of this one because it looks like it could be something a little bit different than a lot of what FFG are kind of producing at the moment. What I'd really like to see is a role-playing game in this world. I love all the surrounding information, the backstory, the corporations, all that stuff. It's really cool. The artwork is excellent, and I think they could turn it into... There's even an artwork of the Android Universe book that came out a little while ago. Beautiful. I think this could make a really good role-playing game. But as it stands, in the 4th quarter of the year, New Angeles will be open for business. So maybe a Christmas present, you know, something end of the year that we'll all be starting to play in 2017. So I look forward to that one. Right, let's have a look here. Next we have Doom. Now, the last Doom board game came out in 2004, so this is the 2nd edition, but it's based on the much more updated Bethesda view of Doom, with the latest popular video game obviously being more of the inspiration for this. So the monsters and the creatures that you find here will be those more up-to-date versions of the ones that were in the old games. I think the 1st edition was based on Doom 3 mostly. Anyway, asymmetric gameplay. So one player takes on the demons of hell and is trying to wipe out all the Marines. Let's have a look at the board here. So yes, so as they're starting to get very good at, Fantasy Flight Games are creating tiles for your sci-fi dungeon. You've got your nice miniatures for your giant demons, and you've got your differentiated through colour miniatures for your Marines. Now these figures are better than sort of your standard board game pieces. I think the FFG minis are almost kind of war game quality, so these would be good enough to have a seriously good paint job applied to them, as I've seen from a lot of their other miniatures. As we can see from here, we've got some funky dice, another Fantasy Flight Games current trend. They like to have all their games have some interesting dice with different symbols, and I like that. They can add to the theme of the game through those kind of specialized elements, personalized for that game, as it were. So one player controls all the demons, and the other players each have one of these poor sods who's running around trying to escape. I mean, we've all played Doom. We know how crazy it can get. Full on rocket launchers, BFGs, all that stuff. It's really cool. This looks like it's simple, it's fun, but it's got some excellent miniatures, some great tiles, and probably seen as a bit of a gateway game for console players and PC gamers to maybe branch out into board games, try this out. They may then go for Imperial Assault or Descent, something on those lines. Then you may branch into something a bit more role play, a bit more card game. So could be one to watch to see how many people pick this up and then move on to other games, which is I'm sure something that FFG are thinking about constantly. Star Wars Destiny, for example, looks a bit more of a gateway game. Funky dice, funky cards. Hey kids, let's have a game. Doom, likewise. Oh, you know, your console game is fun, but now you can sit around with your mates and play it on a board game. Now let's move on to other games. It's quite interesting. So, those are the first 3 games that we wanted to show. In part 2 of this, we will be going into, bear with me one moment, we'll be looking at Arkham Horror, the card game, Mansions of Madness, 2nd edition, and Rune Wars, the new war game. All Fantasy Flight games, all discussed, released, previewed at GenCon, and we will be bringing that to you in our other video. So if you want to check that video out, please go over here, click on there. If you just want to check out some of our other videos, other Shedcasts, we've got ones on Blood Bowl, or various different games. There's you know, we're starting to get a bit of a back catalogue that any new viewer can come along and go and have a look at. So please check out our other videos. You can click on the links on the screen, subscribe down here. Please like, comment and subscribe, and that way you won't miss out on any of the future stuff we're bringing. That's all we wanted to say in this video. Please check out our other video for more Fantasy Flight Games announcements from GenCon. And until next time, we'll see you in the shed.